Hello, I'm Randy Bueller. Here's Brian David Marshall.
Hi.
That was a fun semifinal.
That was a great semifinal. I just ran into Kaji coming out of the bathroom.
Yeah?
And he pointed at Shota Yosoka and said, P.O.Y.
P.O.Y. Player of the Year?
Player of the Year. He said that to me on Thursday also.
Really?
He did. These guys have a lot of confidence in him, and he said, certainly for this tournament, having him was better than having Kenji. Because and not as an insult to Kenji, but
sure.
He just meant
Yasuoka
got him to the finals, which is where he wants to be.
And Tomohiro Kaji has gone 5-10 this weekend.
Wow.
He's 5-10, and he's playing for the Pro Tour Championship this afternoon.
Teams are great.
So what teams do we have queued up for this next semifinal?
Well, we got Raul Pumba.
I think it's Halapumba. It's like a really hard H, like Carlos Palmao.
Okay.
I can't do it, sorry.
I'll
try.
I can barely say Anton Janssen, so I don't know if I can do this. But
Halapumba. I have no idea what it means. We'll try to figure that out. So I know there's some Brazilians on the message board. Maybe they'll fill that crowd in. Halapumba. Paulo Vitor Dama da Rosa. This is a guy we got to talk about. This guy's year so far, top 32 at Honolulu, top 32 at Prague, top 4 here in Charleston. He's actually establishing himself quickly. He's on the gravy train now, I'm sure, with that many points.
Yeah,
Apparently, this guy can play. And he's got a couple of his buddies from Brazil. They got together. They won a PTQ. I talked to them. The flight for them would have been over $1,000 US just to get here. That was their PTQ prize, was tickets to the Pro Tour. So that new PTQ system, I don't think these guys would be here without it. And now here they are playing for the Pro Tour finals.
And he's with the finishes you just described. This is a guy who's inserted himself into the POY race.
He has now.
If he gets through to the finals,
right,
the way Chris McDaniel, Gadiel Slifer, and John Pelkak predict they will.
That's true. We're talking to the guys from Big Time and with Big Oots. They got rolled by the Brazilians and the Swiss. They lost 3-0. They got
6-0.
Swept.
It was 3-0, 6-0.
3-0, 6-0. Didn't even take a game from the Brazilians. And they were looking at the matchups. I'm not even sure they play tested last night. I heard they talked about how maybe they could luck sack their way to victory, but they had seemed to have no confidence at all in their ability to win this matchup. I'm not sure I understand quite why it's that bad.
When we were looking at them over breakfast,
right,
we seemed to think that the matchups were all pretty close.
I mean, if you look at it,
and there was possibly even an edge for Big Time. And
that's what I thought when I looked at it. What are the actual matchups?
The first matchup we have is between Celso Zamperi and Chris McDaniel.
Right.
And we have sort of a Golgari Simic thing going on here for Celso.
Right.
And we have like the very popular green white black deck going on for McDaniel. Lots of powerful cards. Mm-hmm. Congregation Dawn, Hierarch, Skeleton Vampires.
It's kind of the two Rolling Spoil decks squaring off against each other was how it looks to me. Both players have Rolling Spoil. Both players are sort of set up to beat aggro. But the reason I thought that McDaniel would have an advantage is he doesn't seem as devoted to aggro. Right? Zampiri's got 4 Ribbons a Night in his deck. He's got 4 Putrefies. He's got 3 Last Gasps, plus the Caryatids, plus the Rolling Spoils. It seems like there's a lot of cards in his deck that are devoted to beating beatdown decks. And McDaniel is Angel of Despair, Skeletal Vampire, Graveshell Scarab.
But he does have 8 counter spells.
Zampiri does.
Yeah, Zampiri has 4 Remands, 4 Void Signs.
Remand's only partially a counter spell. I mean,
sure.
If you're not
it's
following up with something.
It's often a counter spell in the uncontrol matchup.
It just seems. I guess Zampiri is the guy who's got permission. I mean, they're both green-white, but McDaniel's got a little bit of black, whereas Zampiri's got the blue.
He's got the last.
I'm sorry, they're both green blue, and it's sorry.
This is green blue black. This is green white black on McDaniel's side. We've got Last Gasps, which are just really good against the vampires.
I guess that's true. I'm not giving him enough.
And we've got Putrefies, which are
his ability
to
be able to kill. Well, I mean, it's symmetrical Putrefies. They both got Putrefy, but yeah. I guess you can't Putrefy Sky Swallower.
Yeah, right. And we do. Yeah, we have the Sky Swallowers over here. And I don't believe we have any Sky Swallowers in McDaniel's deck. Nope. Although Crime and Punishment in McDaniel's deck, I think it's a very interesting matchup. I think maybe they got I think that this might be closer than they suspect.
It does not look lopsided to me, that's for sure. Then you look at the middle seat. Halapumba has basically a zoo deck in their middle seat. Celestian Guildmage, Burning Tree Shaman, Rumbling Slum, Watch Wolf. That's where their Hierarchs are, and then they've got a nice burn suite with Lightning Helixes, Charge, and a couple Demon Fires.
They also have, what's a very interesting card here, is they have Sunforger,
Right.
And Sunforger is just a factory that starts spitting out charged lightning helixes, bathing lights.
Yeah, there's an R&D guy named Steve Warner who was wandering around today who was telling me he was surprised he hadn't seen as many Sunforgers. That's a card we played in R&D that seemed like it should be pretty good, and especially in a block constructor where the card pool isn't that deep.
He's also got a really interesting card that we saw in his sideboard that came in Paraelectric Feedback. Paraelectric Feedback's an interesting. It's also in John Pelkak's deck in his sideboard over on Big Time with Big Oots. But it's just an interesting card. It doesn't counter anything. It just you play a spell, you take damage equal to its converted casting cost.
Right. So Willie Edel is taking that Zoo deck against Gadiel Slifer, and Gadiel Slifer has Simic Sky Swallower, Izzet Signet, couple Invoke the Fire Mines. He's got 3 Savage Twisters, Electrolyze, Void Slime, Muddle the Mixture, Remand. He's basically the control deck.
He's got an anti-aggro control deck.
Basically, right. How is that lopsided? I mean,
Slifer's
deck is their anti-beatdown control deck.
It actually seems lopsided to me in favor of Gadiel.
That's what I thought over breakfast. I don't understand why those guys think all their matchups are terrible.
They're still unhappy about it. I mean, the Muddle the Mixture seems excellent.
It goes against Savage Twister. It counters the burn.
Void Slime even counters a spell coming out from the Sunforger.
True. So then the third matchup is Vitor Damaderosa versus
this is a guild battle.
John Pelkak. It very much is. Pelkak is Boros, Sky Knight Legionnaire, Frenzied Goblin, Scorched Rusaka. Very aggressive, very, very Boros.
And Paulo went to the bat pole. He's got Belfry Spirit, Skeletal Vampire.
So he's Orzhov.
He's got, he doesn't have the Blind Hunters that we saw in some other versions.
He's got Ghost Council.
But he does have...
Right, Mike Flores had a lot of success with a version of this deck.
He has Pontiff,
he swears by the Blind Hunters.
Rusalka. Plagued Rusalka seems like it could be very, very exciting in this matchup.
The Pontiffs are also pretty good, right?
Pontiffs are going to be fantastic.
Yeah, that one actually does seem to favor Alapumba.
Some interesting cards in this sideboard. Brain Pry.
Although, they've got Dark Confidant in a deck that's very expensive. I don't know if those Dark Confidants are... maybe they don't play them. Maybe they sideboard them out. But, you do not want to run Dark Confidants against the Boros deck. I mean, all weekend, I think Pelkak just let the Confidant sit on the board, deal some damage, and finishes them off with Charge and Lightning Helixes, Demon Fire, Seal of Fire. There's a lot of burn in Pelkak's deck.
Right. There was at least one match where a guy he kept trying to get his opponent to kill his Dark Confidant. He kept attacking, and he kept hitting the hit and runs.
Sure.
And he didn't have to use any spells on his opponent. He just died to his own Dark Confidant.
If Damaderosa just doesn't play Dark Confidant or uses it as Plagued Rusalka food and not much else, then I think he's got a decent advantage. But with the exception of a Dark Confidant versus Burn draw, I like his chances against Pelkak. Right. So I got big timing with Big Oots 2-1 here. I don't understand. The funny part is they actually don't have a lot of experience with these decks other than playing the Pro Tour. I mean, these guys showed up and they basically got the decks from Rasmus Seabass. Seabass coming off that top 8 at Prague, tested the format. I mean, that's Big Oots sitting there in the name, sort of in this top 4 in spirit anyway. And the decks seem good. Gadiel, Chris McDaniel have both had a lot of success playing constructed decks. These guys know how to pilot their decks.
Pelkak has had a fair amount of success as a team player.
Yeah, he's a team specialist, they've decided to call him. With Gadiel Slifer and Tim Ayton, they won a Grand Prix. They made top 8 at a Team Pro Tour. So that pair has had a lot of success. McDaniel had the top 8 in Los Angeles. I think it's going to be interesting. I think this is going to be a fun semifinal. And I think it looks like the players are just about ready to play. So we will sign off for the pregame show, and we'll be back momentarily with the semifinals of Pro Tour Charleston. Hello and welcome to Pro Tour Charleston. I'm Randy Bueller. I'm here with Brian David Marshall, and we are getting ready for the second semifinal. On the left-hand side of your screen is Big Timin' with Big Oots. That's John Pelkak at the top of your screen, Gadiel Slifer, Chris McDaniel, known as the Star Wars Kid. On the other side, Rala Pumba, 3 Brazilians. Paulo Vitor Dama da Rosa has been having an awesome year. He won a PTQ with Willy Edel and Celso Zampiri, and they are ready for battle. There you get a good look at Gadiel Slifer. He actually won the last Block Constructed Pro Tour in Philadelphia. He's also had success in the teams format. He's took back Sunday on behalf of the Americans, and he'd love to win his second Pro Tour here today. He's playing against Willy Edel from Alapumba. There you get a good look at him.
I was watching Gadiel play all weekend, and he really is just at the top of his game. He seems to be playing excellent Magic.
And everybody you talk to seems to have a lot of respect for his playability. He's just an excellent pilot. Gadiel's playing a very control-ish deck. It's green, red, and blue. It's sort of got some Simic and some Burn. It's designed to beat aggro decks, and it's got permission elements. It's got expensive spells it can build up to. Simic Sky Swallowers for the win. Gadiel he lost this matchup in the Swiss, but it looks like a matchup on paper that his deck was built to win, because Willy Edel is playing a Zoo deck. He's got red, green, white. He's got Watch Wolves and Celestia Guild Mages. That's what just hit the table there. He's got Burning Tree Shaman, Rumbling Slum, Loxodon Hierarch. Got a little Sunforger mini theme.
So that Guild Mage was remanded a turn earlier.
We have to fix that. I'm not supposed to be audible. That's a must-fix problem.
The Guild Mage was remanded, and then Gadiel Compulsive Research a turn later. It looks like he missed a land drop there. He did not have a third land to follow up the Guild Mage, which resolved the turn after the Compulsive Research. Okay. Gadiel has another
Compulsive Research from Gadiel.
Looks like he played a Signet and a Compulsive Research on the same turn.
It's actually hard to imagine a better start from Gadiel than Remand, Compulsive Research, and starting off against a mulligan and a guy who missed a land drop.
Right.
Now the Guild Mage finally comes over. Gadiel takes 2, but he is all set up.
You could do that pen trick. I can't do that.
Okay, a Karoo from Edel. Still no creature. This has got to be exactly the way Gadiel wanted this game to start. Meanwhile, on another table, Chris McDaniel getting his beat on with a Loxodon Hierarch.
Electrolyze?
Yep, Electrolyze, kills the Guild Mage, draws another card. Got the old Arena Islands from Gadiel Slifer. It's a nice throwback. I think he was about 4 when those things were distributed.
With his headband.
Has he got 2 soccer jerseys? He's doubled up. He's been wearing the Dutch soccer jersey ever since they played a match against the Dutch team. Wessel Umans was wearing the Dutch soccer jersey. Gadiel was wearing his home country colors, Argentina. And you figure, what do you do when you play a soccer match at the World Cup? You swap shirts, right? He and Wessel traded shirts after they battled. And then he wore the Dutch colors. Yeah, he wore the Dutch colors all day. That's what you do. You swap shirts after the game.
We've just gone straight to Sky Swallower here.
Straight to Simic Sky Swallower for Gadiel Slifer. Meanwhile, Chris McDaniel has a second elephant in play already against Celso Zampiri. So
the elephant, the jackal pup of this format.
Yeah, he's the beatdown. Rumbling Slum just gonna help Sky Swallower do its job. Crunch. 18 to 14 now. Yeah, the Argentinians and the Dutch actually play in the next game of the World Cup too, so there's a nice little rivalry.
Subplot. Do we know what happened in the Japanese match?
No, I know the Japanese team were disappointed that they were the early semifinal because their World Cup match was just ending as they were going on camera. I didn't hear how that turned out. Very international flavor of the Pro Tour. Definitely a lot of soccer.
It was definitely on players' minds all weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, it was on in the Players' Lounge. The Players' Lounge was packed every round. You could hear the cheers come up as goals were scored. World Cup may not be a big deal in America, but the rest of the world, it is the Super Bowl and the World Series. And
another Rumbling Slum looks like it's going to get remanded. Gadiel had some other options there, but just was content to send it back.
Edel discarding. Yeah, Gadiel's got a grip full of permission. He's got Simic Sky Swallower going over. He is one turn from hanging up a W on behalf of Big Timing with Big Oots.
There's the Magic 6. Gadiel just looked over at his teammates.
Yeah, I got this one.
I got this one. It's in his pocket. Looks like Chris is going to take match game one of their match as well.
Oh, there's Loxton on High Rock. No, Void Slime. And there it is.
The scoop.
Gadiel Slifer takes game one blisteringly fast. Let's go to A. McDaniel and Zampier.
I think we're going to go over to the Chris McDaniel match. Yep.
Oh, meanwhile, in another quick update, John Pelkak has lost his match. He double mulliganed and was unable to recover. Borostek really needs to come out of the gates fast, so he stumbled out of the gates, and Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa smashed him. So a game for each side, and the only game one left going is the one between Chris McDaniel and Celso Zampier. McDaniel and Zampier are both playing fairly control-ish decks, slow board control. McDaniel has what a lot of people have been calling the Magic Online deck. Rolling Spoil, Angel of Despair,
Congregation at Dawn,
Crime set it up, Crime Punishment. He's playing against Celso Zampier, who has similar stuff. He's got Sky Swallowers as his fatty instead of, he's got one Vampire. His deck looks a little better set up against Beatdown, but McDaniel isn't Beatdown. But then again, Last Gasp is good against Skeletal Vampire.
Oh, Last Gasp, it looks like it's just a healing salve here.
Yeah, not as good against Loxodon Hierarch. McDaniel came out of the gates with those elephants, and yeah, they're the beatdown. They're actually the most aggressive creature in this match.
He just used Last Gasp to only go to 1. And he was going to take 8 there. It smells like a Skeletal Vampire.
It is indeed a Skeletal Vampire. Gotta be happy to see Last Gasp. And Zampier just scoops him up. He has no way to stabilize from that. So Chris McDaniel takes game 1. Wow. All of a sudden, in 5 minutes, all 3 game 1s are done. And Big Oots, the Americans, up 2 games to 1.
Are you surprised by how fast this format seems to have gone along? Like I was a little nervous that we were going to see some really, especially after last year's block constructed season where we had Gifts Ungiven and Sensei's Divining Tops. Where the format was a little slower in low controls, but people were talking about big spells, talking about things like Skeletal Vampire, they're talking about Simic Sky Swallower,
right.
Talking about gaining life with Loxodon and Hierarch, all these staple cards that are very controlling cards, and yet the format seems to move along at a really, really brisk pace.
It does. I think part of that is that the card drawing is not spectacular. Like, you've got compulsive research, but you don't see the control deck. You're not manipulating. You're not playing Divining Top Gifts Ungiven games. Like, both of those cards give you a tremendous number of options, and so players build decks where they're like, well, I have everything. I just have to figure out how to use it all and how to piece it together. And here, cards are a little more straightforward. You're like, compulsive research, I draw 3. Which of these is the worst? It's not it's just not as complicated to resolve the spells.
Right.
So here you get a good look at John Pelkak on the left of your screen. Damo de Rosa on the right of your screen. He's the guy that's top 32, top 4, off to just a blisteringly good start this year.
I mean, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Jeffrey Cerrone when we were going into Pro Tour London. We start doing our little research for the top 8 of Pro Tour London,
wow.
and we're money, oh, look at Cerrone.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, we're like, oh, he had that top 8 in Columbus. We knew about that one, but when you started looking at it, you could see he was just this consistent. Yeah,
and it's something that you and I have talked about a lot over the last few webcasts. This idea that the top 16 performances, the top 24 performances,
absolutely,
are really telling. They really can give you an idea of what to expect on the Pro Tour for the next year. These are the guys. Jelga Virgishma is probably the best player, one of the best players in the world right now. He's just consistently finishing in the top 16, and that's like a couple of coin flips or dice rolls away from a Gabriel Nassif like run. When you have those kind of finishes. So Vitor is Paulo Vitor. He could be poised to join that class of player.
Yeah, I have more respect for the player who can consistently finish top 16, top 32 than the guy who just puts up a top 8. I mean,
Right.
you get everything breaks right one weekend, you put up a top 8. Even if you go deep on Sunday, it's not necessarily as good a sign of skill as consistent top 16, top 32, finishing in the money all the time. Well, we got a chance to catch our breath while these guys shuffle up for game twos.
That opening set of games was just it was a frenzy.
So one thing you're going to want to stay tuned for, we are unveiling the first MagicGathering.com Cold Snap preview card later today. You've seen it, right?
I have seen it. I don't actually believe that's the... I think you guys are actually just playing a joke on me, because that card seems insane.
We showed you a fake card?
You may have showed me a fake card.
Well, you will find out. Stay tuned. Right before the finals, we're going to unveil the card. Tune in 15 minutes before the finals. We'll do a little pregame, and we will put up a Cold Snap preview card for you there.
I have to say, if it's actually real,
yeah.
I'm still not convinced that it is. The flavor of the card, in terms of the Cold Snap storyline, is pretty interesting.
All right. The other thing we've got queued up is lunchtime entertainment. There's a number of previous top 8 videos that we're going to be running through at lunch. They're also going to be posted in the archive, so if you missed these at lunch but want to watch them later, they will be in the archives to download. And it's R&D members at the Pro Tour is the theme. Potato Nation versus Car Acrobatic Team from the ESPN show. Bueller versus Mills from Chicago 97. Finkel versus Wolpert from LA 99. And Matt Place versus Steve Mahoney Schwartz from the Pro Tour Mainz finals.
I'm really excited to see that one. I've never seen that match.
John Pelkak has gotten off to a decent start.
Seal of Fire
and a Boros Guildmate.
Yeah.
He's looking over at an Orzhov Signet and a couple of lands from Damo de Rosa.
Just adjusted his life total for a Sacred Foundry. I have to think this is going to be a Sky Knight Legionnaire.
No, nope. It's
going to be a hasty Scorched Rusalka.
Hasty Scorched Rusalka. He paid 2 in order to deal 1. That's the Boros mentality for you.
Here comes a Pontiff. Nope, Teysa.
Teysa's 2-3, right?
Yep.
Score 18-17.
Yeah.
These pads on your left.
Sorry?
Your light pad, take on the table. Thank you.
How do you attack into Teysa here?
I think you draw Sky Knight Legionnaire.
Bottled Cloister.
Certainly seems like an exciting card against
How many cards?
Castigate. Although I don't even know if Paulo left Castigate in against him. Tell you, when you're drafting Boros, Bottled Cloister is a great top of your curve. It'd be interesting to see if it plays out that way in Constructed as well.
Sounds like Willie Edel coming out to a good start. Went Bird, Watchwolf, Burning Tree Shaman out of the gates for the Zoo deck against Gadiel Slifer. A much better start than he had in the second game. Wow, Damo de Rosa attacking with Teysa.
Smells like a Savage Twister in the offing from Gadiel over there. Here's a Belfry Spirit.
Interesting. Belfry Spirit comes down, brings a couple flyers out with it.
Gives him all sorts of...
Hellcat gets an extra card off the Cloister and gets his hand back. Leans over, wants to make sure he understands how Teysa works. What does Teysa do exactly?
Teysa, whenever another black creature is put to the graveyard, you get to put a white flying token into play, and you can remove 3 white creatures from the game to remove target creature from the game. So it's sort of like a weird Grave Pact-y kind of action.
Ooh, Sunforger in play in the middle table. Burning Tree Shaman picked it up. He'll take 1 to activate that.
He'll take 1 to activate that for sure.
He's bringing for 10 against Gadiel Slifer.
And, he can top that off with a Char when he's done for 2 mana.
Yep. Did have to tap out to play it and equip it.
All right. And Charles will be good next turn. What?
Pelkak trying to figure out how to attack this board.
He doesn't.
Daniel Twister did indeed have the Savage Twister you expected. But he took 10 to do it.
So we've Demon fired the Belfry Spirit.
Oh, but Willie Edel had the Char, so...
He just had the Char.
He just had it in his hand. Didn't need the Sunforger. Willie Edel wins game 2.
Nailed.
Those guys have played about 3 minutes of Magic so far, and it's a game apiece.
So Demon Fire just took out Belfry Spirit. Demon Fire removes it from the game.
Right.
So no haunt action going on there. No...
and now here comes Boros Guild Mage into the red zone.
Potentially for striking Boros Guild Mage.
Drops Damo DeRosa to 15.
Smells like another Seal of Fire. Nifty looking mask Seal of Fire. I really like the way they look. Partial to the older one. Looks like Paulo may have drawn another Belfry Spirit there. I can't.
I like the way he's been able to attack here. Like the way this game is played out, Pelkak doesn't have that much in the way of creatures. Got like all Boros Guild.
Oh yeah, Paulo's clearly been the beatdown for the subsequent turns. Oh, it's a little better than a Belfry Spirit actually.
Oh, Skeletal Vampire.
Hold on.
Do you kill it as a response to the tokens?
Trigger on the stack.
What do you think?
That's
Yeah, Pelkak said, all right, comes into play, trigger on the stack. Oh, does Pelkak know those are bats?
I'm
The
not
Belfry
sure if
Spirit
he's aware of
thinks they're
that.
bats.
He's got to know that.
Oh, he just figured it out. All right.
And even if he missed it, he
Shakes
has
his head.
teammates to point it out for him.
It's like, oh, those are bats. Okay, he figured it out. Daddy was leaning over. He knew what was up. Did you see Damo DeRosa though when Pelkak said trigger on the stack? He leaned away disappointed, like he was reaching for the tokens in a hurry, as if he really needed to get him into play. So when Pelkak backed him up, he slumped. He was disappointed.
Little head game
He
from
knows
Paulo.
they're bats. He's been playing this deck for 15 rounds. Of course he knows they're bats, but he did his best to convince Pelkak that Pelkak had found the window. Yeah. You figured it out. No, don't kill it before the bats come into play. Back on table A, Celso Zampier has a Plaxcaster Frogling in play.
That's
three.
kind of interesting. Not a
Out
lot
of the sideboard, make some stuff. No, not out of the side. Oh, it is out of the sideboard. His
right. He
Zampier actually
transforms.
has a transformational
Right, he
sideboard.
transforms into a critical mass type deck with Vinelash, Kudzus, and Plaxcaster Froglings. But McDaniel has a couple of board sweepers though. He has Crime Punishment and he has Woebringer Demon, which sort of will eventually get to that Frogling. So Damo DeRosa's trying to figure out whether or not he wants to play a land here, or is he considering playing a? No, he's already played a land. Oh, we're on Pelkak's turn. I was so distracted by the other match. There's a Sky Knight Legionnaire.
Sky Knight Legionnaire.
Sky Knight
And puts his
Legionnaire
hand back on cloister.
It's the second time I've seen a upright Sky Knight Legionnaire today. There's the Woebringer Demon I was talking about.
Yeah, let's go get a peek on table A. This match seems kind of bogged down right now. The Boros deck has come out. He's bought a cloister. He's going to keep throwing permanents on the board, but Damo DeRosa seems like he's managed to stabilize with Skeletal Vampire and all those bats.
Well, Woebringer Demon was actually pretty instrumental in getting these guys into the top 4 this weekend.
Chris McDaniel's Woebringer
Chris
Demon?
McDaniel's Woebringer Demon. They were playing against Nate's a Jerk in the last round, which is Nathan Waxer's team, a team I was sort of following. And Chris's opponent had Caryatid in play when Chris McDaniel played his Woebringer Demon, and he had two bat tokens in play. And Nam sacrificed his Caryatid, and then it was Chris' turn. Chris sacrificed the bat, and then attacked with his bat and his Woebringer Demon, and Nam putrefied the Woebringer Demon rather than take 4. But had he just waited a turn when he could not sacrifice a creature on his turn, he would have actually gotten the. The Woebringer Demon would have had to go.
Sure.
So
Daniel replays a Woebringer Demon. It got remanded last turn, and this time it sticks.
So it's going to hit one of the Froglings. Oh,
it gets putrefied.
That time the putrefy on the Woebringer Demon was certainly correct.
Oh yeah. He's just trying to clear a path for Vine Lasher Kudzu and Flaxcaster Frogling. Those two guys are adding up. What is that? 5, 6? 6 crunching over. That's half of McDaniel's life total. He's down to 5. Yeah, very much a critical mass. Sort of gets out the creatures, very tempo, very aggro control-y.
Sure, and spot removal now, you can just sit back on your mana, and spot removal can't deal with either of those guys.
Remand, and it's just perfect there. If you go Vine Lasher Kudzu, Flaxcaster Frogling, there's no scenario where Remand is better than when it buys you another turn of attacking for 5.
That third turn when the Frogling comes down, that's the turn you have to do something.
Right. Now Zampier not only can play, Remands, but he can also make his creatures untargetable because of the Frogling. Does McDaniel have an answer, or is this game also headed to game
McDaniel's looking at he just pointed to a Congregation at Dawn in his hand to Gadiel.
There's the Congregation at Dawn.
So he's doing that on his upkeep.
So he can set himself up elephants, I assume.
Actually, it looks like I see a vampire.
Thumbing a skeletal vampire to the front.
There's usually some permutation of vampires and elephants.
Does he have one Sky Swallower or no?
No, he doesn't have any Sky Swallower.
Oh, he doesn't have any blue mana. Never mind.
They're not playing their full complement of Sky Swallowers.
Meanwhile, Game 3 has gotten underway between Gadiel and Willie Edel.
There's another Woebringer Demon he's rolling by. There's an Angel of Despair. That doesn't seem very exciting. There's a little animosity between the players in the B seed.
Yeah, Gadiel was
perhaps a little South American rivalry.
the Argentina versus Brazil thing. Maybe. When they played in the Swiss, there were a couple points where Edel didn't take a point of mana burn, didn't miss a point of mana burn, and played a spell without having the right colors at one point.
So possibly a little sloppy play, and Gadiel took it maybe as something more.
It sounds clearly that at a minimum there was sloppy play there, but Gadiel was starting to wonder. 3, 4, 5 times you see sloppy play in one match, you start to wonder if the guy's trying to get away with something, and Gadiel felt like he could call the judge over at least once or twice. Edel did wind up with warnings for procedural error.
And then, but then that puts Edel on edge around Gadiel, I'm sure.
Yep.
So you can see the players consulting there. This is a very unusual feature of this tournament. It's something that we've never really seen before.
Right.
I mean, obviously we've seen it at the Grand Prix level and in the PTQ level, but we've never seen it at...
There's Loxodon Hierarch. McDaniel was the card McDaniel put on top. He loses if this gets killed or countered. Well, that's to get countered for him to lose. Alright, he got the 4 life, so he's up to 9.
Daniel's up to 9 here. It also looks like he wants to attack. I guess if he had a last gasp there, he would have been able to get a nice attack.
McDaniel actually going to stabilize here?
Well, Skeleton Vampire seems pretty promising.
Zampier had the draw that he wanted with the sideboard plan. Kudzu, Frogling, Remand, Putrefy. Hard to draw it up much better than that. Meanwhile, Willie Edel has gotten a Rumbling Slum into play, but Gadiel Slifer has answered it with a Simic Sky Swallower. That's how Gadiel won Game 1. He just shrugged off the Rumbling Slum and it cracked back for 6 in the air.
The bigger, better guy. There's
second elephant from Chris McDaniel. So the window where Celso Zampieri can win this game seems to be quickly closing.
Oh, that's going to be Void Slime.
Oh, Void Slime for this elephant.
Void Slime's been a fantastic card this weekend. So
Absolutely.
much. We saw Void Slime's trap Ghost Councils outside of the field of play.
White.
He's training an entire team's Ghost Way.
Yep.
Not enhanced.
Looks like Rolling Spoil on the dual land. I actually saw Void Slime counter locks out on Hierarch's activated ability.
In combat, yeah.
That was awesome. The Hierarch is dead, and the creatures it was trying to save are also dead. It was pretty powerful. Well, Witty Edel adds a Burning Tree Shaman to his board. He's now got a 3/3 and a 5/5, but he's staring over at Simic Sky Swallower.
Right. The interesting thing about Sky Swallowers, you can just leave it back there, and it's impossible to get through or around until you're ready to attack.
McDaniel seems to have stabilized the board here. We're going to go to B. That's a game 3, so the match is at stake on the middle table between Gadiel Slifer and Willie Edel.
Right. Celso really just going back over to the other table for a second, Celso just needs to draw some lands there and get his Vinelash or Kudzu bigger than that.
Oh, sure. Once it can beat up an elephant.
Yeah.
A lot better shape. You look at Gadiel. He keeps looking over at McDaniel trying to get some advice on how to play.
7. That land, yeah.
Doesn't look very happy there, Gadiel. But he never looks that
He never
happy.
looks happy.
13. Like. I think I just pressed.
Right, at minimum, Gadiel takes 7 on an attack. You know, assuming you count the point from Rumbling Slum at the beginning of the turn. So I guess he's under a little pressure here. Savage Twister would
Gadiel
seem like a
cannot attack.
fine play again.
Gadiel ships the turn. Sky Swallower is holding off. Burning Tree Shaman and Rumbling Slum and Watch Wolf. Gadiel only at 13. Attack deals 6.
Yeah. It deals 7 because he takes 1 at the beginning of the turn from the slum.
Right.
So really he's...
Alright. Well, one match is over. Paulo Victor Damodoroso wins. He defeats John Pelkak. He got the full Orzhov Tron online. Got the Ghost Council, Tesa, got everything set up. And Pelkak's Bottled Cloister was not good enough. He was trying to fry out Damodorosa. Couldn't get the job done. And Damodorosa wins 2-0. John Pelkak goes down. If Big Timing with Big Oots wants to big time in the finals, they need Gadiel Slifer to win this game, and they need McDaniel to win another game as well.
It's, I gotta tell you, it looks, depending on what, Gadiel looks like he's gonna need a counterspell. I think Edel's gonna take this one.
If Edel takes this, it's over.
Edel would really like to see Gadiel tap out here. He'd like to see him play another Simic Sky Swallower.
Tapping out for it.
And then I believe he's holding the Bay of the Light and can swarm through for the win. Gadiel has to take a moment to advise McDaniel.
Because it looks like stabilizing and win.
It's like one of those chess tournaments where a chess master plays multiple tables at one time.
Sure. Seems like Gadiel's advice was play it safe. Looks like you're about to take control.
I wonder if Gadiel can heed his own advice here.
Did Gadiel just shift the turn? Now McDaniel gets the news of attack lost. I think that was their worst matchup. Pelkak was the one we thought was disadvantaged.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Orzhov Pontiff is.
The other bad news is that Pelkak lost first, and now Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa can turn his full attention to helping Willie Edel beat Gadiel.
That's a really interesting point.
Like he's clearly he's
the best player on there. He's certainly the most experienced player.
He's top 32 the last 2 Pro Tours, now at 3rd top 32 in a row, and this one's a top 4. Edel, I think he's played a couple Pro Tours, but they took a PTQ to get Edel and Zampier qualified.
Edel's played on the Pro Tour 4 times.
So Halapumba has already won a match. They only need one more match win to go through to the finals and take on the Japanese team. Edel and Slifer in game 3, so if Edel wins here, it's over. Their backup plan is to have Celso Zampier take this game and the next from Chris McDaniel. Sunforger placed neatly in the center of the table by Willie Edel.
And Gadiel has to split his attention now and help Chris McDaniel out for a second, make a decision. Gadiel turns to Pelkak, looks for a little advice from Pelkak. Pelkak probably says, I don't know, you're Gadiel.
Well, last time I saw Gadiel's hand, it had a bunch of land in it. I think Gadiel is actually trying to fool his opponent into thinking he's got a bunch of options
that was
by
interesting,
constantly asking his teammates for advice.
That was interesting, but he had the Void Slime also.
So he does Void Slime Sunforger.
But,
seems like he has to. That engine online, it just gets fried.
Willie Edel in his player profile said the MVP in his deck was Bathe and Light, and Bathe and Light right here would be game. Does he feel confident that he's baited all the counters out?
8, 11. Bathe and Light deals 11. It's true. Sunforger may have been the bait to try to clear the path for Bathe and Light. If he Bathe and Lights the Watch Wolf, well, any of the green, it doesn't matter. Any of the guys, if he gives them protection, and he goes for it, Bathe and Light, that's lethal if it resolves, and it does! Willie Edel wins! Match over. Halapumba is through to the finals. Edel defeats Slifer 2-1. Bathe and Light lets all of his creatures get protection from blue, no blocking from Simic Sky Swallower, and that's it. That's your ball game. And now we have our final setup. It's going to be Kajaharu 80 against Halapumba. Tomohiro Saito will be playing Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa. Shuta Yasuka will be playing Willie Edel. And Tomohiro Kaji will be playing Celso Zampier. We've got lunchtime entertainment queued up for you. We're going to go take a lunch break at this point. We've got a bunch of Pro Tour finals. Should be fun. And make sure you come back. The match is scheduled to start at about 2:30 local time. So 2:15, your Cold Snap preview card. Or 2:30 probably. We'll come back, we'll do a little pregame, and we will unveil the first MagicTheGathering.com Cold Snap preview card right after the lunch entertainment.
Guys, you're not going to believe it.
So, we'll be back for that.